seek recognition.
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 5, printed in House Report number 112-74, offered by Ms. Tsongas of Massachusetts.
Pursuant to House Resolution 257, the lady from Massachusetts, Mrs. Tsongas, and a member opposed will each control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the lady from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The lady is recognized.
Last summer, we all saw the painfully disorganized and ineffective response to the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. The frustration was palpable across our country. During that tragedy, it was clear that BP and the federal government had no plan to contain the oil spill and that BP lacked the capacity to respond to a spill of that magnitude. The amendment that I am offering today is very straightforward and simple, one that seeks to implement the lessons learned from the events of last summer. My amendment would require that all applicants for a drilling permit under a lease sold under H.R. 1231 submit a plan for containment and cleanup of a worst-case scenario oil or gas spill. This amendment does not limit drilling. It says simply and sensibly that when we drill, we should have a plan in place before an accident occurs. We shouldn't wait until a disaster like last year's 3-month-long spill has already begun. There wasn't a person I spoke to who wasn't horrified by the devastating oil spill in the Gulf. I believe that the American people want us to learn from that environmental and economic tragedy, and this amendment helps us accomplish that. When we drill, we should have a plan for dealing with possible disaster. Some have argued that we don't need a law because initial steps are being taken at the agency level or by oil and gas companies. Some have said that requiring a worst-case scenario plan is anti-drilling or anti-jobs. We shouldn't get distracted from the simple truth of this amendment. When we drill, we should have a plan. We have seen the consequences of not having a plan, and it was lost jobs. This amendment is pro-jobs. Requiring oil and gas companies to have a plan in place will not prevent the creation of a single oil and gas job, but it will protect fishing jobs and tourism jobs instead of asking us to put those jobs at risk should a spill occur. Our constituents deserve to know that we have required oil and gas companies to plan for the worst. Opposing this amendment irresponsibly denies the tragic events of last summer. For the sake of our economy, our environment, and our coastal jobs, I urge my colleagues to support this common-sense, simple amendment requiring oil and gas companies to have a plan. Join me in demonstrating to our constituents that we have learned from the events of last summer, and we are taking steps to prevent such a disaster in the future. I reserve the balance of my time.
The lady reserves the balance of her